Hey guys, it's Avani and happy Thanksgiving. In today's video, I'm going to be sharing with you guys 2 simple, quick, and easy Thanksgiving treats that are perfect for a party or even a potluck or just to get together with your family. If you like Thanksgiving and also love apples, then don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, click subscribe, and ring the bell to receive notifications every time I post a new video. Alright, without any further ado, let's get right into this. Alright, so we're going to start off by making our pie crust dough. So in order to do this, what I did was I added 2.5 cups of all-purpose flour into my food processor along with half a tablespoon of granulated sugar as well as half a teaspoon of salt. I just pulsed that a couple of times until it was good to go. Then I added my butter in. So what I did to my butter was I had 2 sticks or half a pound of butter which I chopped into small cubes and put it in the refrigerator until I was using it right now. And that's what you'd want to do because you don't want the butter to be at room temperature or thawed. And then I just pulsed that a couple of times until it was good to go. And then I had to separate this batch into 2 parts because our food processor was a little bit too small to fit the whole batch in, so it just became a little bit more complicated. But if you had a bigger food processor, this would be much easier for you. And then I just added the rest of my butter into it and pulsed it a couple of times. And now I'm adding some water into this until it formed a dough-like consistency. And into this I added about 3 tablespoons. At max it's probably 4, and then we can add some more along the way while we're kneading it. So then I just put the dough onto my surface, kneaded it a little bit, and then formed 2 discs out of the dough. You want to refrigerate this until we use it later. Now we're going to make the sauce for our apple filling. So in the pan I melted 8 tablespoons of unsalted butter, and then into that I added 3 tablespoons of all-purpose flour, and then into that I added a 1/4 cup of water along with 1 cup of granulated sugar, and you want to whisk that for about 3 minutes, simmering until it turns like this, very caramel-like and bubbly. Now to slice, core, and peel our apples, I have this handy little tool with me. This does all of 3 things for me, and it makes life so much easier. It takes off very, very less apple peel, which wastes very less apple, and the same thing applies to the core. When it takes out the core, it only takes out the core, not a lot of the apple, which is really good because we're not wasting the fruit. And then because it comes in a ring, we have to cut it in half, which is what I just did. And here are all of the apples which I did earlier. So now into that we're going to add 1.5 teaspoons of ground cinnamon, and you want to, using a spatula, coat that cinnamon all over the apples. Now we're going to add that awesome sauce we made earlier, and this sauce is literally changing this pie. It's so good. It's a must, and it takes less than 5 minutes to make, so I would highly recommend it. And again, you just want to coat all of the apple slices with that sauce. Now we're going to roll out our pie crust. Generously put some flour on your surface so that the pie crust does not stick. And because my pie was really hard to roll, I literally banged the rolling pin on the pie, which makes life way easier, so I would highly recommend to do that if your pie crust is also really cold. And then when we're picking it up, I just use the rolling pin to wrap the crust around, and then using a brush, I just brushed off any of the excess flour, and then I just pressed that dough and rolled it out onto our pie tin. Then we want to put the pie apple filling into the pie, and you want to avoid allowing the filling to go onto the edges of the pie because it just makes it a little bit harder to seal. If you do, don't worry, I did too. Then you want to roll out your second pie too, and then cut about 10 equal sized strips. Clearly I didn't do that, but it's fine, it'll cover up when it bakes. And then you want to put all of the strips horizontally, and then you want to lift up the second and fourth strip to put on the first strip vertically, and then you want to lift up the first, third, and fifth to put the second strip vertically, and you want to repeat that on both sides of the lattice. Now we're going to crimp the edges. So before we do that, we're actually going to tuck in all of the excess dough behind, and if there's too much, you can just rip some off. And then to crimp it, I just used my 2 fingers and just pressed it together. And then using this egg wash, I just spread it evenly onto the pie, and then you want to bake it at 425 degrees for 15 minutes, and then without opening the door, bake it for another 45 minutes at 350 degrees Fahrenheit. And here's the final thing. Now let's move on to apple cider. So to make this apple cider, I just used these Fuji apples that we had, but you can use the Granny Smith apples or a mix. But I wouldn't suggest using all Granny apples just because they're a little bit sour, so you'd have to add on a lot of extra sugar or honey to sweeten it up. But what I did to the apple was I cut it into 4 slices, and then using this melon baller, I took out the cores, and it's a very simple and easy way to do it. So highly recommend this way for coring apples. And then I cut each of the 4-piece slices into 3 more slices to make it a little bit smaller. So in this bowl here, I have about 8 Fuji apples, which are the apples I had on hand, so that's what I used. But you can also use a mix of Granny Smith and Fuji. And then into that, I just added some cinnamon sticks, cloves, honey, sugar, along with water. This was about 10 cups of water, but really you just want to cover all of the apples. And then I let this slow cook for 3 hours, but if you don't have as much time, you can just put it on high heat for 10 minutes or 15 minutes and then slow cook it for 10 or 15 minutes. And then I mashed it up and added 5 tablespoons of brown sugar, and then I let that slow cook again for an hour. And then now I'm mashing it one last time, and then I'm going to sieve it through a strainer. And you want to take out as much of the juice from the pulp as possible, because this apple cider is so good and delicious that you won't even want to waste 1 drop of it. And also, you don't have to add those extra tablespoons of brown sugar if you don't think that it's not sweet enough for you, but for us, we didn't think that it was sweet enough, so that's why we added the extra sugar. And here's the final apple cider. Alright, that's it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed both of these recipes, and if you're going to give them a try this Thanksgiving, then don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, click subscribe, and ring the bell to receive notifications every time I post a new video. Alright, I'll see you in my next video. Bye-bye!